Hey, YouTube. Hi. Oh my god. What are you doing? What are you doing, YouTube? How do I let you do it? I know. It's technically supposed to be True Crime Sunday. It's like I just can't seem to get the days of the week together. It's only because I be live streaming after midnight. So my days are like totally like, ugh. But oh my god. Hi, YouTube. What it do? Oh my god, did you miss me? Because like yesterday, I had Saturday off. I'm talking about. And you know what I did yesterday? Caught up with Xylos. I believe it's supposed to be a new episode dropping this weekend. So, give me a second. Like, my people really supposed to just pop up and isn't supposed to be doing all this looking for shit. We we have Spidey. Hi, Ray. Okay. Eric Nunez. Hello. Oh my god, thank you for stopping by and saying hello. Why you all the way at the bottom? Man, be looking for this thing on thumbnail. Oh my god, thank you for stopping by and saying hello. Ray. Okay. I see you, Ray. What is that short for, Raymond? It's typically what it's short for, but I don't want to make any assumptions. I'm doing well, thank you for asking. Technically, this would be considered true crime anyway. Even though, what is this? The preliminary here. Just put this behind because I can't do this cord in front of me. Thank you, appreciate it. How much? 79%. What's going on over here? 77%. I need a charger. You was literally just at like 60%. Now you're at 45. Come on, man. Who's that? Megan. Hello, Megan. How you doing? Let me go ahead and cut this down, then. Preserve my life. Oh my god, hello. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for the thumbs up. Let me see what happened because, I didn't get to get out of here real quick. That's how you looking? Because my light is looking crazy over here. Hold on. Let me see. Did that help? I didn't get to. I'm gonna watch it in a minute. Um, and then I know Ian Carroll dropped a video too, because I didn't see Kevin dropped anything today. I can check and see, but he would have popped up number one on my end. Are we on mute? Let me come in and give myself a thumbs up. People be coming in the chat talking, don't even want to say hello. Stefan. Okay, Miami, Florida, in the building. Okay. Miami, Florida is in the building. What's the weather like down there? Because we got some rain today. So I'm curious to know what y'all got going on, sending all this rain up here. Okay, did y'all hear about Lindsey Graham? I did. R.I.P. Okay, so Kai dropped a diss track to I'm pretty sure probably Funny Mike. Oh, they've been going at it. We so messy. Child, you know I be in these YouTube streets, honey. I know Funny Mike. What is Candace talking about? Hope they get it out of their system. To be honest, I didn't even feel their punches. See you guys on Monday. Hope they get it out of their system. People acting like, oh, I don't know what she's talking about. Oh my God. You know, Funny Mike and who else? DDG and Kai. Child, messy. Stefan. Who? Stefan raining in Florida. I know. I just seen it. I'm like, child, we was raining up here all day, on and off, on and off. I'm like, y'all the ones sending that rain. Had to be. But y'all know y'all get it first. Before we get it. No, y'all get it first. Whose flag is that? I've seen that flag before. Is that Don't get me on the flag. I'll look it up. Don't spoil it now. Yeah, that one. Not that one. Mexico. Is that Mexico or Italy? Nope, that's Mexico. Stefan. Tronolone. It's too many O's for all that. Like that's way too many O's for me. Like, I think that's Mexico's flag, if I'm not mistaken. No, Mexico look like they got some in the middle of their flag. Italy. Ah, okay. Italy. We went from Miami to Italy. Italian. Tronolone. That's a very difficult last name for me to like be trying to butcher. Is that Mississippi? Shocker. Sparks chilling questions. Oh, look at Midas over here with the who's okay. You know what? If I don't want to hear nothing about no copyright because Midas got it. So if y'all let Midas play it, then clearly it not be no issue. Let me see what they was talking about. True crime going crazy. Excuse me. Give me a second. Oh, this is Midas Network. Update. Here we go. We have oh, that's me. Hold on, let me change it. What's his name again? Nolan. I didn't know it was Xavier, but it's Nolan. What the fuck are you doing? spoon. Spoon is my favorite spoon. Okay, let me see. Okay, it's True Crime Sunday, so we're gonna be all over the place.
Childhood remembered the kind, easygoing young man who was supposed to head back to Southwest Mississippi Community College in Summit on Monday to practice for the upcoming football season. They couldn't believe he was gone. Wells had a tight circle of friends raised with him in Ocean Springs. He was a calming influence. If an argument broke out when the kids were younger, Wells was likely the one to pick it up. He was friendly to everyone and usually wore a smile, his friends said. That is from the Biloxi Sun Herald. Hi, my name is Suri Crow, and you are watching the Midas Touch Network. Easygoing, mild-mannered, a multi-sport gifted athlete. Quote, he could spark up a whole room. Again, according to the Biloxi Sun Herald, that is how two Nolan Xavier Wells' best friends described the 18-year-old. Both of them spoke with him the last day that the teen was alive, and one of them, Javon Williams, was actually on the barrier island known as Horn Island, which sits about 10 miles off of the Mississippi mainland. Horn Island is where groups of young people headed off on the 4th of July in boats to hang out, party, and play. Nolan was aboard a boat with 3 of his other friends shown here, but he never came.
Hey, good morning, Robin. The 4th of July celebration turned to tragedy for the family of Nolan Wells, and now they're hoping authorities will be able to pinpoint what exactly happened to him. This morning,
Mississippi. Mississippi though. Ugh. You know, that Mississippi racism hit different down there. I'm just saying, you know, between her and Alabama. Ooh. Ooh. That racism hit different.
search for answers in Mississippi after the death of
Look,
18-year-old
now they got this. Now look, but Good Morning America blurred their faces out. See what I mean?
Wells. Authorities recovering a body believed to be the teen. Investigators and volunteers from the Cajun Navy spent the weekend urgently searching for Wells after he vanished from Horn Island on July 4th.
Nolan Wells was on a boat.
How he vanished? But they said that the friends left him. That ain't damn vanished.
From a private dock area in the Ocean Springs area and proceeded.
And where is this? Who is this sheriff talking to all in the car like that and not in no press conference?
Friends to Horn Island.
Wells was visiting the barrier island 10 miles from Gulf Coast, boating with friends, last seen about 3 p.m. Saturday.
They left and went back without Nolan from what?
How he disappeared if they left him without?
Understand he chose to stay there.
Later that
Why? This is all over the place. Y'all gonna give me a headache. And I got on 2 headbands. I can't. I have on 2 headbands.
when he didn't return home, his mother reported.
How he gonna return home if y'all left him? But then said that he wanted to stay. How he gonna get back?
Missing to police, and then quickly taking to social media, posting pictures of the teen, pleading for help finding him. Heartbreaking discovery made about 8:45 Monday morning when authorities say the Mississippi Community College wide receiver's suspected body was found in the water just off the shore.
Suspected?
His mother writing, his father, our family, friends, and I are absolutely devastated, describing Wells as a sweet son who was always willing to cheer and uplift others. Now, investigators say they suspect he drowned, but they're still interviewing friends who were with him as they work to pinpoint what exactly happened.
He chose to stay there on a remote island with no water, shelter, phone, or help, alone. According to his best friends Trace Carter and Javon Williams, pictured here, Nolan did know how to swim, But the currents at the western tip of the island are reportedly very strong, and that's where investigators
Well,
found
he gonna swim 10 miles back to shore.
So Nolan's death has gone viral on socials, due largely in part to his mom, Christine Wansley, who hit socials as hard as she possibly could as soon as she couldn't find her son last Saturday. His parents did recover.
We just keep waiting for Nolan to walk through that door with his beautiful smile and a joke, of course. We just pray our son is alive and safe. Again, we are looking for any pictures, video footage around 4:30 p.m. or later. Please only, I think she meant DM me if you have information. Jesus Christ. Okay, Hype Plus, Roland, Don Lemon. It's that Ben Crump for me.
We're joined by his parents, Christine and Elmore Wansley, as well as their attorney, Ben Crump. And before we start, first off,
Didn't I tell you it's that Ben for me? I can't do Ben. I can't. I'm over Ben. I'm over Ben Crump. No,
thank you for being here under these circumstances.
no.
How extremely tough it must be, and we can't express how sorry we are for you and your family. And first,
I can't do that Ben Crump. He always the lawyer. He gonna always take your case. Cut it down. He gonna always take your case. Let me let her finish.
Phone, which came back on the same boat with the three white friends.
Thank you for pointing that out. See, I didn't even have to say it. I didn't even have to say it. I didn't even have to say it. Thank you. I didn't even have to say it. Thank you, my love. I appreciate it because I'll go there and then you'll try to make it seem like it's all me. And I'm like,
Left with.
no, that ain't all just me, honey. Those was three white friends. So, yeah, but y'all the ones be trying to have friends. It's 2026 and y'all the ones be still trying to have friends. I'm like, y'all, I got kids and bills. That's it. Kids and bills. That's it. I can't. Y'all the ones that be trying to have friends. I got kids and bills. I'm trying to figure out why does my frame keep dropping over here on OBS? And I have to keep changing it. I don't have time for this today, OBS.
Who told deputies that they thought Nolan left with some girl he met on Horn Island that day. Now, people are having a hard time getting their minds
Why
around.
the fuck y'all still got this phone?
The boys would leave Nolan behind, but take his phone with them. His friend Javon confirmed that Nolan was seen chatting with the girl on the island that day. He saw him, but that girl, Katie McCormick, has now come forward to Nolan's parents and is cooperating with investigators and said she had only met him that day and that she eventually left with her own family and figured that Nolan left with his own crew, according to reports. Here are some comments from social media. Joshua Dyron says, desperately hoping Mississippi gets Nolan Wells' case right. I'm so tired of black grief with no justice. Joey Anna says, I do not believe for 1 second that Nolan Wells went off with a girl and that's why they left him. In fact, I refuse to believe anything they say, especially now that I know that they came back with his fucking phone.
See what I mean? I'm like, did he leave his phone in the boat? And maybe that was why. Okay, let's just say he left his phone in the boat. Let's just say he left his phone in the boat. right? Whatever the case could have been. Hello, Michael. Um, you know, I don't want my phone to get wet. So I'm gonna leave it in my jacket or my pants or shorts or whatever. Just leave it. It'll be good, and I'll just grab it, when I let's just throw out that theory. Okay. Okay, cool. So then for first you're saying he was talking to some girl and first you say he chose to stay behind. He chose, it was his decision. Nolan chose to stay behind. And then they were like, well, we saw him talking to some girl, so maybe that was why we thought that was why he chose to stay behind. How he supposed to get back? I'm just, how was he supposed to get back? I'm, let me go see what the mamas talk, what those parents was talking about on Good Morning America. Give me a second, because um, somebody said that they got his phone. Something happened with his phone.
As well as their attorney Ben Crump, and before we
I can hate hearing his goddamn name. It's make my skin crawl hearing that Ben Crump name. Cause he be the first one. He be the first one, and it's like that's how you know when this is bigger than us. When Ben Crump takes the case, this is how you know. Let's just go ahead and put that out there, okay? Because technically, what we can do is if we wanted to, hold on, let's just look up. I can read. I can read. Right. Let's hold up. Didn't I just what this keep talking about? I should have restarted my computer. Um, let's just see all the cases, right? Ahmaud Arbery. Remember Ahmaud, right? Everybody remember Ahmaud? Cause they was recording that on their phone. Was that dash cam or something like that? Y'all remember Ahmaud Arbery when he was running and he was minding his business? Ahmaud was totally minding his business. I don't know. I can't remember if they was recording on their phone or if it was a dash cam. I don't know. It was. I wasn't even worried about it at that time. Like I wasn't even paying attention. But it came out afterwards. Like, oh, they was recording, hawked them down, and everything, and got your ass beat. Don't shoot me because I done beat your ass. But y'all was harassing me. Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor. Ooh. Not Bree. Not this botched raid that y'all cooked up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning while y'all sent the tag team over there and then y'all sent another tag team over here and oh yeah. But then some way, somehow, none of the neighbors heard you guys Announce yourselves. I'm curious to know. How is it that you guys keep insisting that y'all announced yourselves, but all the neighbors ended up calling 911 because they hear y'all banging and ain't nobody announce yourselves? And then, of course, Breonna Taylor's boyfriend was like, well, that was why I fired a warning shot, because we're sitting in the house screaming, who is it? Who is it? The neighbors are screaming, who is it? Who is it? The neighbors are calling the police. 911 don't know that y'all are there. Nobody knows that y'all are there. Y'all unmarked vehicles, unmarked tactical gear. Okay. But first of all, listen, let me tell you something. That boyfriend told Brianna, stay your ass in the room. Let me go see. And she the one in the hallway. So, George Floyd. We know George Floyd don't need no introduction at this point. Please. We know at this point he don't need no introduction. He don't even need no introduction over there on his videos. He got him a little leak tape over there and everything. So he don't need no introduction. We know what happened to George Floyd. Michael Brown. When he at the gas station doing something, minding his business or something. Child, I didn't even jump down deep into Michael Brown. But I thought he was at the gas station. Like when I peeked into it. You know how you click and you be like, what happened? And you're like, I think he was at the gas station. And then of course, most notably Trayvon Martin. Here we go again. Somebody just not minding their business. Same with Ahmaud Arbery. Here we go again. Somebody just not minding their business. Trayvon was just walking. He went to the store and then he came back. He getting some Skittles and a Sprite. We all know what Skittles and a Sprite is for. I think Skittles and the Sprite just don't need no introduction over here as well. We just know Skittles. If you see that combination being bought, okay, cool. Okay, cool. But even still, he was minding his own business. Here go George Zimmerman. He all worked up. What did George say he was going to do again? What did George Floyd say he was going to do? George said he was. Fuck, he said he was going to Walmart or some shit. He cooked up something real quick. Oh, I had went to the store because they was closed, but whatever. And then, okay, I had seen him in the neighborhood, but I didn't know who it was. And 911 operator, sir, excuse me, stay your ass in the car. You don't need to be. No, you're not a police officer. You are neighborhood crime watch. Sir, please do not get out of your car. Please do not follow him. We'll send somebody over. But I'm going to get out because I need to see where he go with. I don't want y'all to lose him. Sir, stay in the car. We got it. This is his case. And so if it's a black man, I don't even understand why he didn't get, no, who got, just hold on. What's his name? Hold on. The memory, honey, the memory. I gotta think of it. Just give me a second. That memory bank is going into overdrive now. Who? Day. His last name is Day. Jelani Day. What happened to Jelani? Why he didn't take his case? Wasn't who was on Jelani? I think Ben. Or was it Alvin? Al Sharp. Who had Jelani Day's case? I thought that Ben Crump had Jelani Day's case too. I believe that Ben had Jelani Day's case too, if I'm not mistaken. But if you C being, then if you know, you know. Just put it that way. So,
It started first off. I want to thank you for being here under these circumstances. You know how extremely tough it must be, and we can express how sorry we are for you and your family. And first question: how are you two holding up?
Taking it second by second.
Day by day, second by second, day by day, which we all can understand. And I just want to ask you, the friends that Nolan traveled to Horn Island with, they said he stayed behind voluntarily. Why would he stay behind?
That we cannot answer. I can't fathom why he would. Like,
I don't know why he would. We always taught him to, if you go with a group, you stay with a group. Even when he was in college, he would say, Dad, well, we're going to ride down to a party or something in another city. Now, so I tell him, well, if you go with 5, you come back with 5. Do not separate from your group. So I always say, safety is in numbers. And he always said, yes, sir. So he knew to stay with his group. So why would he split from his group? I don't know.
So that would have been unusual for him to split from the group.
Yeah.
And you said he would always check in with you. Did he check in with you that day?
so that day, no, I don't. But of course, too, they were on the boat, and usually when he is out there, which it's not uncommon, he's I think since last year
hey,
he's
Michael.
been going there occasionally with his friends, and so it would always just be like, "Hey, Mom, I'm back," type of thing. But this time there was no call or text from him. It was from his friend.
And then too, really didn't worry a lot about it because it was his last weekend to have fun.
Yeah.
Because that Monday he had to report to school. We was preparing to take him back for
well.
for camp, prepare for the season. So we understand he wanted to have his last hurrah before he locked down and get ready for the season. Because like I said, the entire summer he's training. He got more serious. He started to understand what I was trying to tell him about football, not just being fun, but as you get farther in it, it becomes a business. If you want to excel, you have to understand it. You have to understand both at the same time.
And we know, Ben, that you said that you're going to do an independent investigation.
Yes.
And you say you had Nolan's cell phone and messages were deleted. How can you tell messages were deleted?
Well, his parents got the phone back, and that's something that's important,
For
Michael,
sure.
because they tracked this phone on Life 360.
So Life 360, but when I received the phone call
From?
Warren,
Who the fuck is that? The friend?
immediately called my friend Tashima, and I said,
Stop
"Hey,
name
have
dropping.
you guys seen Nolan?" Because her 2 sons, Jalen and Javon, they grew up
Oh,
together.
okay,
They played,
Javon,
City
Javen.
League sports together. When they got into school, they played sports together. And so she was like, "Hey, okay." The boys were pulling up the location from Snapchat.
Oh.
So the Snapchat location looks completely different than the Life 360 location. So when I pulled up Life 360, it was different. It was showing everywhere the phone had been. I was like, well, it's showing that he's back on land. I'm not. He's like, but no, he didn't come back with us.
Well, how were you able to
The
get
friend.
the phone?
So
The
we
friend.
tracked it, and
Oh.
my friend Tashima went and picked it up.
Oh,
It wasn't like
Ben,
they
shut-
said we got his phone, they tracked it. And that highlights
that's a red flag right there. Well, go ahead, Ben.
all these contradictions,
Right.
Michael. The fact that they said Nolan was talking to a young woman and she said that he said, I'm going back to get on the boat with the boys. The boys said that he said he was going to stay with her. And so that's an obvious contradiction. And then this video of this, you can hear an argument going where Nolan is saying, give me my freaking phone. What are
Oh.
you freaking doing?
Oh.
And so then his phone ends up missing. I don't know any teenagers, Michael Strahan, who says, if you believe that story, I'm going to stay behind. And I'm
And
gonna
not leave my phone.
I mean, no young person leaves their cell phone. And so then there's so many things that their parents were telling us about. Even why didn't his body wash up with the tide on Sunday? Why would it come on Monday? It's not adding up. And that is the problem when you think about the history of Mississippi. Yeah, so there's
I was giving him, I called it now. Don't act like I didn't call it first. Don't act like I didn't say it first. don't look. Don't act like I didn't say it first now. Okay, look. Listen. The Mississippi racism hit different. Don't take my word for it now. Ben said it, but I said it before Ben, cause I know how Mississippi work. But child, oh my God, that she cause it's Mississippi first, and then it's Alabama. But in between it might be Louisiana too. But that's the top three. And don't get me started on Georgia, cause I'm from here, but still, Mississippi racism hit different.
So many questions that need to be answered. And is there anything you'd like people to know about Nolan? What would you like them to know about your son?
Let me let her finish.
Chasing Oz writes, those boys knew they could get away with leaving that boy behind on that island because they've never been held accountable. One kid's mother is a local judge. Another kid's dad is law enforcement in Mississippi. Disgusting. Mariah Lynn Joe writes, I hate that Nolan Wells believed he was amongst friends.
Ooh.
I hate that at some point he realized he wasn't. And I hate that he died alone. Rest in power. We'll keep saying your name. It's true that his entire crew of at least the white boys pictured on his social media and the 3 boys he left with on the boat have shut their social media accounts down to private. I personally checked. One of the kids' stepmom is a judge, and one of the other kids' parents is reportedly a cop. So make of that what you will. There's a lot more to some of that story, particularly about the mom who's a judge. But I do find it odd that they all went radio silent, have lawyered up, and then told Nolan's parents that they have no idea where he was or what happened to him. But they left with his phone that came back on the boat with them. There's also a video that some believe is Nolan and those boys arguing.
Uh-oh.
Here's
If you got
You can definitely hear somebody say, "Give me my fucking phone."
civil and criminal litigator Thelma Anderson talk about what his so-called friends have been up to.
And let me post the last post one of them made pertaining to Nolan. This is what Jax posted yesterday. Don't post my son if you won't post up at the police station to give an accurate account of what happened.
Oh.
Don't post my child if you are not cooperating with law enforcement.
Oh.
Because then you playing in my face.
Oh.
You want to post my child, but you don't want to post up to give an accurate account of what happened to my child.
She got a good point now.
Same go for you.
Hold on. Let me put her down.
My child and say you will see him soon, but you don't want to post up and tell the police how you gonna see him soon. You know you weren't gonna see him soon. You know something happened to him. Don't post him if you're not gonna post up, pull up, give a statement, give an accurate account, and blow the whistle on what the hell happened. Because everything outside of that is bullshit. See you soon. See you soon. How? Y'all had his phone. He could not call for help. No underage or no teenager, no new adult is gonna leave their phone. They are attached to their phone. Oh, I got something else. Listen, we got your back, Nolan. We ain't letting this slide. Not on our ancestors, not on your parents, not on your family, not on your life. Your internet virtual aunties and uncles don't show out for you because we be damned. So let me tell you another individual that I didn't mention that they're going to need. They're going to need a social media person to go and pull every fucking thing. They're going to need more than one. to have eyes and ears. Because what y'all don't know, they get on these social media apps and they post this shit. And they think it's not discoverable. But as I say, anything you say, post, and receive can and will be used against you in a court of law. This did not have to happen.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's got a very Murdoch feeling to it. If you know the whole Murdoch story, after Paul Murdoch, who was a teenager at the time, was drunk driving the Murdoch boat that killed 19-year-old Mallory Beach. But instead of all white teens aboard a boat, now we've got 3 white boys and 1 black kid. Did race weigh in here? It's pretty hard to think that it didn't.
Right.
Here's author and scholar Jamar Tisby.
Nolan Wells went missing on Saturday, the 4th of July, off the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. His lifeless body was found on Monday. We don't know all the facts. We don't know all the details. What we do know is Nolan was the only black person amid a group of young white men. They went out together, but Nolan did not come back with them. Online, of course, there is speculation and outrage. How is it that the only black person in this group doesn't come back with the group and ends up dead? Because we know this story. This is not the first time.
We definitely know it. Let me finish.
With
A headache.
to see what story it likely tells. If someone has already made up their mind
I
with
don't want
full
no headache today.
as to what happened here, and they take all the pieces of new information and try to force it into their conclusion, sometimes very awkwardly, not a great fit, and anything that doesn't quite work, it's fake, it didn't happen, it's lies, not real, that's not analysis at all. That's extreme bias.
The exhibit 12.1, does it appear to be the same as the raw video that you've seen previously?
It does, yes.
Okay. Are there some minor, are there any added additions or anything different about this particular exhibit?
There are some portions of the video where a zoom is initiated, which wasn't a function of the cameras. I believe some specific individuals have been blurred from the footage, and I believe there are some red circles to show poignant information or individuals within the footage itself.
Okay. So other than the red circles, the blur, the zoom, does it appear to accurately depict what you've seen in the raw video footage?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so that is David Hall. He is the lead investigator, and he played a massive role in this hearing, and if this goes to trial, he'll probably play a massive role in that as well. He provided hours of testimony. Now, the clip we just looked at was a very, very pivotal moment from days 1 and 2. And it's where we saw the prosecution lose a bit of confidence here, because they're pretty confident, they're on top of things, and here we even see it in the language, it's falling apart a little bit, because you see the prosecutor almost ask a leading question. Is there some minor, and then he stops himself and goes, are there any additions or anything different about any of this?
Are there some minor, are there any added additions or anything different about this particular exhibit?
So let me explain what's going on. They submitted a compilation video of who they're alleging is Tyler on campus that day. And it starts with a lot of stuff around the parking lot and cars, but then there's a point where we see someone from very far away, very small, running across the roof. And in the compilation that they submitted, there are some blurred faces, and then when there's that roof footage, there's a zoom in, and there's red circles to tell the viewer where to look. And this is what they submitted. However, the prosecution knows, and the judge knows, and David Hall probably also knows, that you still need to submit the original source footage.
Bingo.
Because if you don't know who edited this, you can't ask them about the editing, and you don't know what the source material was, you don't know what else could have been changed in this video. And then he's asked a very strange question. Does it accurately depict what you've seen in the raw footage? And look at his answer. I believe so. Yes. That is a very reasonable response to an otherwise silly question. How can you possibly remember if it accurately depicts every single detail that he saw?
If it's already been...
That would be like me playing back the last 10 minutes of this video that we're watching right now and ask you, is it exactly the same? There are tons of studies on memory, countless, and they all have the same conclusion. Memory is a highly, highly flawed system. We think we have really good memory for details, but in reality, it's been proven again and again that we absolutely do not. And it's unreasonable to expect, unless this man is Rain Man, for him to remember if both videos were exactly the same down to every little detail. And in a case like this,
details make a huge difference, which is why what the judge did next was really great. And this was one of the moments where he gave the prosecution a slap on the wrist and saying that we need the original video. Because if we don't have the person you're testifying who edited this, what changes they made, and we don't have the original video, we can't know
use
for a
it,
fact
right.
that this is exactly the same as the source footage.
So do you have a version of this exhibit that does not have the zooming in or the circling? Again, I don't know all the alterations that were made, but that seems to be outside the 1102 because you don't have
Original.
a person testifying 1102 saying I made the alterations. And so that's the concern of the state of what Ms. Nestor was talking about as it relates to the state's evidence. I have that concern about those alterations. I don't know when they were made, how much was done.
Ooh.
They manipulate to, not saying it in a nefarious way, but.
Okay, now here it is,
Right.
the big moment. We're going to look at the prosecution's interview with Lance Twiggs. This is Tyler's ex-roommate and romantic partner, and he's being questioned here about some of what happened on that day. Now, there are a couple of very, very important notes to clarify what we're seeing here, why it's being presented the way it's being presented, and some of the misinformation that's out there on a lot of sources. So the first thing a lot of you may have noticed is that they cut out segments of this interview, and there are parts that they only played the audio, but we didn't.
What?
Furthermore, there's been a lot of people that are wondering, wait, how could they possibly play an interview on video like this where the defense doesn't have a chance to cross-examine this witness?
Right.
And a lot of people are really running with this. Like, it's this giant red flag that proves that this is not fair. And the answer to both those concerns is the exact same. It's a reminder that this is not a trial. It's a hearing where
Right.
the judge has to decide if it's going to go to trial. And he also has to make sure that, to a certain degree, this story is contained so that every single person in Utah and their nephew doesn't see every detail of these interviews. So if they publicly play the most important parts of this testimony, publicly like this, every news outlet is going to jump all over it, and every single person who would potentially be part of that jury pool will see it and form an opinion. So they have to be very careful on how much they show the public. It's got to be enough that people could keep up with what's going on in the decisions, but not so much that it spreads like a wildfire and everybody forms an opinion. As for the whole cross-examination thing that a lot of people are running with and misunderstanding, once again, it is not the obligation of the court to force that to happen because it's a hearing. The only job is for the judge to decide if this will go to trial, where in that case, they will have a chance to cross-examine. In a the standard for evidence is very different, and the standard for hearsay is also extremely different. This is not the prosecution saying, look, this is proof. Everything this guy is saying is true. They're just saying, look, we have this interview that gives us good reason to take this to trial. That's it. There are states where preliminary hearings are very rare, and they use grand juries. And in a grand jury, the defense isn't even present. They wouldn't be able to ask a single question to anyone. The prosecution shows up to show the jury, here's what we have, to decide if it's going to go to trial. So anyone who's looking at this and saying it's really unfair to the defense, a preliminary hearing actually gives voice and say to the defense than a grand jury, for example. Side note, a massive thank you once again to Emily B. Baker for taking the time to patiently explain this to me. And as a long-time prosecutor, she sees nothing odd about this or the lack of cross-examination. Although, if I'm being honest, I think any chance where we don't hear Nestor cross-examine is a massive win for Emily. Oh, and another thing that I talked to Emily about, which is here, and a lot of people again are misunderstanding online, is the immunity deal that he has. A lot of people are saying, oh, he's got immunity, so he could say whatever he wants, he could lie, whatever, they can't do anything. When in reality, what he has is called use immunity. And basically what that means is they promised him that anything he reveals in this interview, they cannot use against him. If they find other things outside of this interview, he does not have immunity. This is a common practice to incentivize the person to be truthful. Because whatever he says in this, he can literally say that he had a conversation with Tyler and he gave Tyler the idea, and they cannot use that as evidence against him. So yes, he has immunity, but it's specific to what he tells them in this interview. So now we're going to look at the clips, and let's keep a couple of things in mind. One of them is they're going to leave out some juicy details, but we have a lot to go on even without that. And the second thing that we have to keep in mind, which is very important, is that this is not an interrogation where we're trying to get something out of someone that will incriminate this person.
Right.
This is more of a cooperative interrogation where prosecution and Lance are having this conversation to try to prove that Tyler did this. So this won't be the type of interrogation to where if something is off, we're going to go in and try to pull the truth out. They're much more in this together, and it's much less likely that conflicting narratives are going to be challenged. But there's still a lot of interesting behaviors that give us some clues as to what's going on. So here it is.
And do you know Tyler Robinson? Yes, I do. Yeah, I do. And this is the same Tyler Robinson that's been charged with the shooting of Charlie Kirk? Yes. And would you say when you first met Tyler?
Crunch.
Oh, it's an interesting little. You know what's okay? I'm over here. My frames keep dropping. Is like I said, I should have restarted my computer, to be quite honest. Because I had cleared my cache, and so I should have clearly. Frames keep dropping. I wasn't even paying attention. I didn't even know that he hadn't even.
I think it was 2023. I've known him longer than that, though. That was, I think, the first time I met him in person. Okay. And will you describe your relationship with Tyler when you first met him, anyway? When I first met him, I didn't know him super well. He was just a new roommate, so. And then, at some point, your relationship progressed to something more than roommate, is that right? Mm-hmm. When was that? I think we started dating 2 or 3 months after he moved in. Okay. And where did you live at that time? St. George, in an apartment complex. And is that apartment the same place you lived on September 10th? Yes.
Okay, a lot going on out the
Right.
gate, and something that is going to be a pattern throughout his entire interview.
Chewing on that gum.
Right in the beginning, he's asked, "Do you know Tyler Robinson?"
Right.
Look at his answer. He goes, "Yes, I do," or and he looks up as he hesitates, or "Yes, I do." So yes, I do. Hesitation. Yes. Now that's really interesting
Right.
because you would think that it's a very simple yes or no question. Do you know the guy?
What was you
But
thinking
it looks like
about?
in this moment he's hesitating, has a little correction or a caveat to make, and then just goes back to, you know what, never mind. Yes, I do.
Right.
And if I had to put money on this, if I had to bet, I would guess that he was going to add a little bit of a detail there to say, I don't know him anymore. Because the question is, do you know Tyler Robinson? So something along the lines of, yes,
I
or
did.
I don't know him anymore. We're not close anymore, but I did know him. But I think in that moment he realized the guy's asking, like, do you know who Tyler Robinson is? So kind of erase that idea of making that little correction. Whatever the case, I can't be 100% sure that that was the caveat, but there was something there that he was going to add, and I'd like to know exactly what it was, but I have a good feeling. Now, in that moment of hesitation and thought, you'll notice he looks up. You'll also notice in this answer, and very consistently moving forward, he very often looks down. He darts down. And it's not particularly consistent with deep thought or hesitation. It very often happens even after an answer, or in a moment of silence, he looks down a lot. Now, we talk about eye direction. It's one of the things that there's the most myths about on social media. There are people out there who are convinced, because of a bad source that they read or saw, that when people look left, they're always lying. And when they look right, they're always honest. And it changes. Left is a lie, right is a lie, up is a lie, whatever they need in that scenario. Like the video they're watching, whatever way the person looks, if they want that person to be lying, that direction is always. However, there is a ton of research on this. And although it does support that looking away helps us focus or concentrate more, there is no connection with the direction we look and how truthful our answer is following that look. There's specific research on that completely destroyed the idea that direction allows us to know if someone's being deceptive or truthful. Think about it. It doesn't even make any sense. If all liars looked in the same direction, trials and interrogations would last seconds. So it's really not that simple. Please believe me on this. I've spent a lifetime staring at the faces of people who are either lying or telling the truth, and there's no pattern. Individual people have specific patterns to them. Like there are people that have a baseline where they always focus by going the same way. but that is not universal and does not apply to everybody else. With that said, there's one direction that universally we see in the same context. So wherever you are in the world, when you see someone looking down, very often, not always, but very often it's connected to either some kind of negative emotion, because think about it, negative moments, everything goes downwards. It's even in the language. I'm feeling down, I'm down in the dumps. So things close downwards, including the eyes, or it's very consistent with inner monologue. When we're talking to ourselves or giving ourselves a pep talk, we often see the eyes go down. Not for everyone, but it's very common. When it comes to Lance, this downwards look is very much part of his baseline. I'm going to go ahead and guess that it's part of his idiosyncratic behaviors as well, that he does it outside of this interview. And I think it might be connected a little bit to his discomfort or awkwardness. Because we often see in the most awkward moments, we often see these little darts down. His upward is very consistent with thinking back or processing. And you're going to see as we look at these clips, it gives us a very good clue as to whether an answer was prepared or not. Because when he's improvising, we hear a lot more hesitation and a lot more specifically upwards gazes. And we saw it right there too. He gave his answer, and then as he hesitated to try to see if he was going to add to that, we saw that upwards look. He was about to improvise, then he came right back down and just said, yes, I do. But notice when he was asked when they started dating, where they lived, these were all answers that he for sure knew were going to come up, and he just looked straightforward, answered it. We didn't see any hesitation or trying to access memory, but we did see a couple of quick downwards darts while he was talking, which again, baseline.
What was his typical work day like?
I think he'd leave around 7 generally and get back around 3 to 4, depending on like where the job was and how long it was for the day. And then on certain days of the week during school, like semesters, he would then later in the day, I think around 5 or 6, go to school. So.
There's another terrific example of how his upwards gaze syncs up very much with moments of improvisation and hesitation. His speech literally slows down as we hear that hesitancy and he's thinking, and we see those eyes go up. What a great clue to distinguish prepared answers from improvised answers.
I'm having to spell this guy. You know, I think you're right in front of your
I just said that. I was like, I don't know why.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that's another great example that locks in what I said before, that this downwards gaze is in moments of self-consciousness or awkwardness. Because here they asked him to spit out his gum, so he took it out, didn't know what to do with it. So
if you need to lose that cortisol belly, do these 5 Tai Chi moves.
You know, that was the first thing I said about that gum.
Threw it out, and then he comes back, and we see this very closed posture, right? His arms are moving in, and this is everywhere in the world when we see humans get defensive or self-conscious, we see those arms close in like this because we're getting ready to protect very vital and vulnerable parts of the posture, and we see that look down as well, synced up with moments of self-awareness.
What time did you see Tyler on September 11th?
Yes.
When did you first see him on September 11th? So this is the day after the shooting?
Yeah, I saw him when I woke up. Like I said, he was up and around doing a lot of stuff around the house. And then after that message where I said I'll come home and say I'm doing laundry, because I didn't want him going to my parents' house right then when he said probably cops outside. So I went back home, and it was just him there, and I said bye to him, and then he drove off. So I just
Wait,
went back
what?
to my parents' house.
Okay, we're definitely seeing a shift in his baseline there. His cognitive load is increased. There's a lot more hesitancy. The eyes are shifting quite a bit. We see a couple of quick bursts up, but we see a lot of downwards like this. And sometimes it does align with his hesitation here. I think there's a lot of nervousness about talking about this actual interaction that he had. For the first time since the beginning of this interview, we see illustrators. We see his hand come up as he's illustrating. And usually our illustrators come to life when we're passionately trying to tell a story rather than just trying to say what's going on, calmly. There's also a lot of ambiguous language. He says that Tyler was doing a lot of stuff, and I think I saw him after that message. So this is stuff where we're missing a bit of time. A lot of stuff. What stuff? What was he doing?
And it still don't make sense, because did you see him the day after? Yeah, I saw him And then somebody text message. I didn't want him to go to my parents' house, like cops or something. Like, stick to the question. You're never mind.
Verbal stuff, non-verbal stuff. Do
Headache.
you guys talk about anything? We're gonna get a few more questions about that, but that ambiguity is definitely something where I would want to dig in and understand what stuff. And then I
Right.
think I saw him after that message. Okay, well, what do you think you saw? What was
Right.
your reaction? So there's a lot of nervousness here, and I feel like some details are being glazed over. But we have a chance to kind of dig in a little bit more with this next question.
So he acted erratically. Was he pacing? Was he just sitting down, relaxing?
No, he was walking around a lot.
And that's within the home.
Mm-hmm.
And did he talk about what he had done?
Didn't go into detail. I just asked him in person if what he said was true the night before, and he said it was. He started crying a little bit and said he wishes he hadn't done it. And then kept going around and just doing stuff, I think, to keep himself busy or distracted or something. And then eventually said that you had talked to his parents, turn himself over.
And when you left, was that how you left understanding that he was going to turn himself in or go to his parents' house?
Yeah, I didn't really want to be at our apartment while any of that was happening, regardless of what went down.
Okay, so in this one, for me, there was a little red flag that went bing in my head, and it relates back to the text exchange that was released between Tyler and Lance. And I have a video on the channel where we look at those texts, and I give my opinion on it, and I'll leave a link in the description if you guys want to check it out. But in summary, really quick summary, there's something about it that never really got easy with me with that text exchange. I'm not one of those people who thinks like, it's this whole plot and the whole thing is fake and none of it makes sense. But there's just a few things about it that in the wording didn't quite add up to me. And here, again, something doesn't make sense. Because Lance is saying here that Tyler was walking around a lot.
Right.
And when he's asked, did he talk about what happened, he's saying he didn't go into detail.
He didn't go into
So
detail.
what that means is
He was
this
talking.
guy, Tyler, who allegedly did this horrible thing the day before, was at their house, in the
Right.
comfort of their own home,
Right.
and he didn't go into detail. But the day before, when he actually did the crime, and
He was texting and writing notes.
he texted paragraphs and paragraphs of detail. That's inconsistent. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for someone who, on the day of the act that he committed, in that high-stress moment, to be texting paragraphs and paragraphs of details. Seriously, go back and look at those texts. It's like a novel. But then, on the next day, in the comfort of his own home,
He didn't go
with the
into
person that
detail.
he's texting, he doesn't go into details. Sorry, that doesn't describe the same character. It also doesn't make a whole lot of sense that he didn't have a million questions. I mean, put aside the fact that they're roommates, put aside the fact that they have romantic history, but even just for his own safety, you would think that he would be extremely concerned. So it's hard to believe that there wasn't a very big conversation here, knowing what we know about these two individuals. And I think we get a massive clue as to why Lance is saying this very shortly after he gives this answer, because he says that he didn't want to be around. Whatever this was, no matter how it ended up, he didn't want to be there, so he got out of there. I think a big goal for Lance is to psychologically distance himself as much from Tyler. We saw it here in him trying to underplay how much of a conversation they had that day. We see it here in him saying that he just wanted to get out of there. We saw it earlier when he was going to come in with a bit of a caveat. When he said, do you know Tyler? There was a little but there that he didn't quite say, but he was going to. And we're going to see more clues coming in where he's trying to make sure we understand, no, me and this guy, we're not as close as you might think.
Okay, before he came home, had you seen the press releases, any of the media on this?
I'd seen one Instagram link a friend of mine had sent in our group chat, but I hadn't really looked into it at all.
And had you seen the images that were released of the suspect?
I did the next day. I don't think I saw any on the 10th.
Yeah, I'm not really buying that exactly. And it's not entirely behaviorally. It's a little bit behaviorally, but also just purely logically. So he says that in a chat, sent a link, but he didn't really look into it at all. And immediately...
Now, I want to start today's video with the best overall mattress, which is the Helix Midnight Lux. Now, this is the epitome.
Immediately after that, we see that look down, but it's not alone. We also see a quick flutter with the eyes like this. And this is very consistent with processing. Research has shown universally when we process things, when we put things into memory or retrieve things from memory, we see these little eye flutters or a very increased blink rate. So it obviously doesn't always. There isn't a single gesture on this planet that happens exclusively in deception. But there are behaviors that we look at for stress or increased cognitive load that might indicate a higher probability of deception, and eye flutter is one of them. Now, we don't have a massive cluster here. It's not like after he says that, we see him close up and look away and flutter and hesitate. It's just this downwards look, which is part of his baseline. It's a little more held than usual with this flutter like this. But purely logically, it doesn't make sense to me that he didn't look more into this or read that article or ask more questions or get more curious. I mean, let's think about this logic. Anybody right now watching this video, that if you had a roommate and that roommate went out and all of a sudden you got all these weird texts from them and a friend of yours sent a link to a group chat that said, hey, your buddy, your roommate may have done this thing. Is there anybody watching this video that wouldn't drop everything they're doing to open that link, read it, go online, look what else is going on, what's happening on X, what's happening on Instagram, TikTok, what is going on here? Wouldn't you want to find out everything you can? How you committed this act is about to come to where you live. Are you some kind of psychotic episode? What's going on? So is there really anybody who would just not really look into it at all? His words. I don't know. So what do I think is going on there? Again, I think this is all about one thing for Lance: distancing. If he says that he got concerned, he looked into it, he had all this information, he talked about it with Tyler, he texted him, it suggests a closeness that I don't think he wants to put out there. So when it comes to the core facts, he came to the apartment, he said this, I went there. Like when it comes to the story itself, we're not seeing these massive clusters, nor at this point do I have reason to believe that he's being overly deceptive about those things. Of course, in the cross-examination, where he's grilled on these details, we're likely to see a lot more. But again, in this kind of cooperative interview, I'm not seeing massive red flags when it comes to the actual telling of the events. But when it comes to the details of what happened in those moments, there's something going on here. There's some kind of stress, there's some kind of distance that he's trying to create there.
About Charlie Kirk, did you ever talk about Charlie Kirk?
I personally had never heard him talk about Charlie Kirk before specifically.
Okay. Political issues. So did you ever talk about gender identity issues and LGBTQ rights?
No, not really. Usually if he did talk about politics stuff, it was relating to Trump or current policies being issued or voted on, I think. But yeah.
Holy moly,
Right.
This is a big one.
A lot going on.
People who haven't studied nonverbal communication could see that there's a significant shift in the way that he's answering this one, more than any other answer we saw. So, first of all, in the first answer, he uses two qualifiers, and this is not someone who often speaks politics. So he's asking if they ever talked about Charlie Kirk, and he says, I personally have never heard him talk about Charlie Kirk specifically. So that's two little caveats, two little qualifiers. It's different from saying, I've never heard him talk about Charlie Kirk. It's much less confident. First of all, personally, have you impersonally heard him talk about Charlie Kirk? Is there someone that you know has heard him talk about Charlie Kirk? That could be what it is. It could be that after the fact, in his circle of friends, some people told him, oh yeah, no, he hated Charlie Kirk. So he knew that, but not personally. And then he says specifically. So he didn't talk about Charlie Kirk specifically. Well, did he talk about him non-specifically? So these are just questions, by the way. I'm not saying for sure that there's something here, but why do we all of a sudden have these qualifiers? Also, notice how specifically after the answer, we see a lip compression. And this is not part of his baseline. Immediately after he says that, his lips thin out. And this is very consistent, universally, with disagreement or withheld opinion. So think about how you might be in a group of friends, and someone's talking about somebody else. They like this person. And you notice somebody else kind of just tightening those lips like this. Very consistent with, I'm not going to say this, or I disagree with what's being said. It's also very consistent with omission, like there's more to say here. So, might be something there, not sure. But then there's a lot more stuff. There's a lot of hesitancy here in the way that he's answering, falling apart a little bit, which is a good indication that the cognitive load is increased. There's a lot of ambiguity. When he's asked if they ever talked about LGBTQ stuff, he says, not really. Well, what do you mean? It's a yes or no question. That's somewhere where I would want a little bit more detail. Okay, well, did you talk a little bit about LGBTQ stuff? I mean, they were both part of the LGBTQ community. They had a relationship. So it stands to reason that at some point they talked about their opinions on it. I mean, they were dating. They never ever talked about that stuff. So I have some questions there, a lot of ambiguity. Then at the end, he gives us a bit of detail about how it was often about Trump. And it almost seems like Lance doesn't really know how to have this conversation. So I don't think he himself is that interested in politics. But again, I think a massive, massive goal of his here is once again, distancing. If he tells us that they often discussed LGBTQ and that they talked about politics and that he went on and on about how he disagrees with Trump or Charlie Kirk or this or that, the more he gives us information like that, the more it paints two very close people, which is exactly why specifically when it comes to things that would suggest their proximity, he makes sure we understand that there really wasn't much of it. He keeps things very ambiguous and we see little signs of omission, stress, and increased cognitive load. So in conclusion, what do we have? Well, we have a lot. There's a lot of really great examples in this hearing to teach overall behavioral analysis, but also very specific things to this case. We have a defense that's fighting an uphill battle. We don't know what their plan is, but there are a lot of things that would compel a judge to allow this trial. Because even if these things are not 100% locked in for sure evidence, we have a lot of things that very much seem to tie Tyler to what happened here. So the defense is constantly in a struggle throughout the entire hearing to try to minimize things or make it seem like they're not as big a deal as they seem. And they seem overall a lot less confident and that they're constantly on that uphill battle. And the prosecution, more often, with a few exceptions, seems like they're a lot more confident and controlled in that room, which kind of makes sense because a preliminary hearing is more about the prosecution, but there's a lot more confidence coming from their side. Another big thing that a lot of people are misunderstanding out there is that we have no clue what the defense's plan is. Millions of people are assuming that the defense is going to try to prove his innocence, like Tyler had nothing to do with this. But that may not be their goal at all. Their goal might be to talk down or remove the actual circumstances to take the death penalty off the table. We don't know. They haven't discussed their plan. Again, this is a hearing. They're there to try to figure out, okay, what's this trial going to look like more or less, and determine what's our best course of action. So we can't make any assumptions about their plan. And we have the roommate who's providing a witness testimony who I would love to see actually get questioned with a lot of skepticism from someone who's trying to get every detail. When it comes to his story, there isn't any reason to believe that he's making the whole thing up. Like none of it happened. There are segments where it seems like he's withholding something. There's more details here, there's more to this. But it's really hard to believe that none of these things happen. And we haven't even seen the entire interview. I'm sure there's a lot more black on white. Here's what he said. I haven't seen those. So yeah, there's a lot. And I'm very...
I wanted to get his take clearly because what did you think about it? What the fuck? What is a morgue leak? David Morgue leak? Morgue leak? Okay, let me go to N because I had started on N too. And then I was like, because Spidey, I saw that Spidey one Saturday. No, I think it was like Friday. It could have been Saturday. My days are like.
There's a million different conversations about different small pieces of evidence, about different theories. It's all devolving into name calling because obviously it has to if you're going to be asking questions on the internet about any of the untouchable narratives. That's a very strange portion that we'll dig into a little bit. And we'll just try to wrap up the whole preliminary hearing a little bit so you understand what was said and what wasn't said. And I've got a tool, a resource that you can use if you want to, quickly skim and double check everything directly from the primary source, from the hearing itself. So I'll tell you about that a little bit later. But first, let's just rewind and circle back to the sort of origin of this whole conversation. Ground zero, the base.
Right.
We were all told that there are just mountains of evidence out there, that it's so obvious that Tyler Robinson did this all alone, on his own, that if you saw the evidence, you would have no question. And that is the premise upon which people would say that I'm evil for asking questions, that Candace and Barron are just evil for even asking any questions, that they are demonic. Because there's this whole campaign that just so happens to be carried out by all the Israel First Zio shills that shill for everything that the Trump administration does, including covering up the Epstein files and going to war with Iran, among other things. So it's like this weird overlap where the whole bought and paid for Zionist mainstream influencer economy is all saying, don't ask any questions, and if you do, you're an evil person. You're trying to set Tyler Robinson free. You're trying to taint the jury pool to cause this trial. And I don't know if they think that that strategy is still working. I don't know if they think that we were all born yesterday and we don't know how the internet works, but we'll address it a little bit. And maybe we'll start with Posobiec. Jack Posobiec, former Navy intelligence, has made a habit of reposting over and over and over statements like this. Statements that very clearly are presuming guilt before a trial. I don't think I need to remind Jack Posobiec that this is America, and in America you are innocent until proven guilty. But that is not how Jack Posobiec is operating. That is not how any of the mainstream Zio shills are operating. They're operating from, it's already proven, he's guilty 100%, and if you ask any other questions, if you say anything else, you're evil. You hate Erica, or you hate the Jews, or whatever. Okay, so this is the kind of slop that those people are posting. And they all have their own flavor and variety of it. And if you have your own X account, if you are on X, you might have noticed the absolute swarming of bots and micro accounts that are just flooding the comment sections to try to form a false consensus, as though everyone thinks that it's a closed and shut case. And they share posts like this. Tyler Robinson murdered Charlie. Now Candace is gunning for Erica. Evil. Which is just like, okay. And this Andrew Zywake, sorry bud, it's a pretty basic dude. He's gonna just remind us at the top here what the justice system in America is all about. I grow infinitely tired of the first sentence here. I don't know what goes on with the Candace situation. I don't watch podcasts. With that in mind, let me offer you all some sense. In America, you are innocent until proven guilty. End of story. Anyone making the statement this idiot just made needs to reflect. And yes, it's idiotic, so spare me the self-righteous virtue signaling. You do not condemn someone to guilt before seeing the evidence and going through a thorough process to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. This is a human right. So, Kristen, I know you find logic and consequence challenging, evidenced by your failure as a pro-life advocate, but bear with me. When a high-profile political and religious figure, of which Charlie was both, is assassinated, no stone can be left unturned. Everyone close to him, every business relationship, every random quack letter with a threat, everything must be investigated. When this much money, power, and influence are involved, those closest must be met with ultimate scrutiny. Not as accusation, but as thorough investigation. I find it ridiculous that such common sense must be stated. As far as the ever-obvious clown show arguments, let's put something to bed. I don't trust our government. I don't trust any other government. When the most influential evangelical Christian on the planet is bankrolled by Jewish influence, which is a completely opposed theology, openly states that Israel is ethnically cleansing Gaza, as in openly makes accusations of genocide against the opposing religious influence that bankrolls his existence, one must factor this in. When donors, funding operatives, and world leaders are in the DMs, one must take that into account. I am not saying Israel killed Charlie. I literally have no idea. I am saying, how on earth can you rule any involvement out, even secondary involvement? You think this is so irrelevant that it doesn't merit investigation? You think screeching conspiracy makes you sound rational or well-intentioned? It doesn't. It makes you sound like a tone-deaf sycophant with no desire for truth, an oppressive thought policing tyrant. I also believe that Erica Kirk has acted extraordinarily strange in the wake of Charlie's death. Does that mean she killed him? No. Does that mean something is off? No. People act weird all the time. What it does mean is taking videos of Charlie in a casket and posting to social media is odd. The interviews are odd. The mannerisms are odd. The behavior is all odd. And there are odd things in the history. And that should all be taken into consideration. Again, on what planet is having eyes and ears and opinions on behavior some sort of thought crime? Again, I haven't even spoken about this topic, and I have no clue who killed Kirk. And indeed, I hold no position on it, but I find the shaping of narratives and the silencing of dissent and the mis- and disinformation campaigns akin to COVID are you people completely lost. Given that this is the biggest political assassination since Kennedy, maybe people should stop being retards and look at the whole picture. Is it possible some random transgender freak pulled off the greatest hit of our lifetimes? Sure. Is it likely, given the circumstances? Not at all. Trust your government at your own peril. If you are incapable of having conversations on this topic, maybe sit at the children's table this Thanksgiving. In closing, you will likely never know who killed Kirk, but someone will fall. And fall is a severe understatement. But in the case of Tyler Robinson, if convicted, he's not going to fall. He'll be killed. End of story, end of life. So you'd better be right. You better not make a mistake. He better get the full extent of the American justice system, innocent until proven guilty, by a trial in a court of his peers. That is not the perspective of the people out here already claiming that he did it for sure. Nothing wrong with having your own opinions about what the evidence shows. You should do that. I have my own opinions. You should have your own opinions. And you should think for yourself and form your own opinions. But I just wanted to point that out as we get into this conversation for today about what we know so far. Because right now, the internet is just a spinning of narratives. And once you see them, it's wild to watch them weave. But if you aren't paying attention, it can be very easy to get sucked into a false consensus or to think that you're getting true information that is not actually based on anything real. There's a lot of lies floating around. So we're going to do our best to unpack what actually happened, share the actual evidence. And so now let's start with the confessions. Because we got
Look at him in his PDF.
We got the
What does that say?
text
Information and
messages. We haven't seen the
charges.
Discord messages yet, which we'll come back to. Let's just remember that the whole idea is that Tyler Robinson's parents turned him in. That he confessed to them, and they knew he did it, and they turned him in, and he confessed to his Boy Scout leader, cop buddy guy that helped turn him in. He confessed. They said this over and over and over and over. But now the preliminary hearing is done, and we never saw any direct confessions from Tyler Robinson. We never saw testimony from or by his parents to say that he confessed to them. We never saw this cop troop leader friend on the stand or any testimony from him saying that Tyler confessed to the crime.
Right.
We don't even have video footage of him turning himself in.
Right.
So what do we have? Well, in the original charging documents from way back in September, we have a couple of paragraphs that sort of imply confession. As they discussed the situation, Robinson implied that he was the shooter and stated that he couldn't go to jail and just wanted to end it. When asked why he did it, Robinson explained, "There's too much evil, and the guy Charlie Kirk spreads too much hate." They talked about Robinson turning himself in and convinced Robinson to speak with a family friend who is a retired deputy sheriff. At Robinson's father's request, the family friend met with Robinson and his parents and convinced Robinson to turn himself in. The family friend spoke to police and reported telling Robinson that it was best if he brought all the evidence with him to the sheriff's office to avoid police having to search his parents' home. They would still have to search his residences. The family friend also asked Robinson if they had any clothes that related to what he did. Robinson replied that he had disposed of the clothes in different areas. So that sounds like a confession.
Websites your competitors don't want you to know, part two.
All you do is go to this website, and it lets you find out exactly how.
You would expect to get the meat of this now when they're showing the evidence in court. We didn't get any of that. Except for, we'll talk about the text messages in just a minute. This is the affidavit of probable cause that was filed at the same time, where it says, on the evening of September 11th, 2025, a family member of Tyler Robinson's reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. So, that's the language that we have about this confession. Because that's rock solid. If Tyler confessed, then just have the person he confessed to make a statement, either on the stand or a written affidavit or a sworn testimony and video, and voila, have a pretty slam dunk case. We didn't get any of that. None of that came. Neither of his parents are on record. Boy Scout troop leaders not on record. We have no record of Tyler confessing, except by the text message chain that was originally published, in part, in these documents, that had the entire internet making memes about how retarded it is to imagine that a 20-something-year-old Gen Z kid would be talking in the Shakespearean Old English language about his vehicle, and about how, alas, my love, I shall not see you, and also about how he opens the text message chain by saying, to be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you. Now, let me text you a complete confession to every single element of the crime, item by item, line by line, in digital text message format, which obviously is a permanent record of my guilt, which just doesn't make sense to anybody. It never squared with anybody with a brain. And there was also Discord confessions that he apparently made to his friends on Discord after he decided to turn himself in, but right before he went in, that have disappeared. They're not putting those into evidence anymore. We haven't seen those, at least. No one's mentioned them. And Baron Coleman brings up a great point he's been elaborating on over the last couple weeks about why that might be. about why they might not want to talk about the Discord confessions anymore, because they might have happened after he was already in police custody. And we'll get into that in just a second. But first, let's see what Lance Twiggs actually said on the stand. Let's get into the new stuff that actually came the last couple days of the trial. So this is the video that we got. Lance Twiggs looking very robotic, giving video testimony. A lot of people are saying it's AI and stuff. It's like, I don't think it's AI, guys. It's like, maybe, I don't know. But like, there's nothing to indicate that it's AI. He's just very flat. He's very SSRI feeling. He's very, but one thing that he's not very is transferry feeling. You just watch him talk in his deep voice, wearing his suit, referring to himself as Lance, clearly male. He's been working construction jobs, it sounds like. That's what he said. So, not sure where the transferry stuff ever came from or is coming from. A little weird.
Did you and me ever talk about politics? He did more than me. I still don't really keep up with politics very much. He'd usually talk about stuff he heard on the radio on his drive to work in like their work car, since it sounds like their whole crew went in the same car.
Because Tyler Robinson was also working blue-collar electrician jobs, so we've got two gay furries people, allegedly, that are both working blue-collar construction-style jobs at the time.
What Charlie Kirk did we talk about? I personally have never heard him talk about Charlie Kirk before, specifically.
So if you remember, the idea is that Tyler Robinson took out Charlie Kirk because of how hateful Charlie Kirk was towards trans people, and because Lance was allegedly trans, no evidence of that here, that was enough to rile him up to assassinate Charlie Kirk, despite the fact that he'd never talked to Lance about Charlie Kirk ever at all. He never probed about how Lance felt about it, apparently. That's a little weird to me. I think that's weird. You can think what you want.
Okay. Political issues. So did you ever talk about gender identity issues and LGBTQ rights? No, not really.
What?
Talk about politics stuff. It was relating to Trump or current policies being issued or voted on.
So it sounds like he was just sort of listening to Fox News BoomerCon on the radio on his drives to work, and he had some basic milquetoast 20-year-old opinions about it. But they never talked about Charlie Kirk, and they never talked about gender and LGBTQ stuff, even though they were definitely gay trans lovers or whatever the story is. So that's just a little weird. It's a little weird. And it's worth noting that the defense tried to get Lance Twiggs on the stand. Apparently was blocked for whatever reason. They're not allowed to have Lance Twiggs on the stand testifying in court. So instead, all we get is a pre-filmed video where he's asked very specific questions. That being said, the defense characterized the video. We didn't get to see it all. They redacted a whole bunch of it, so the court didn't see the whole testimony. But the defense characterized it as a video where Lance was just to be asked questions and sort of nodded along and said yes over and over and over. So it was better than that. I think it's probably because they showed us the sections that were more substantive. But he did answer questions. And when he answered questions and actually spoke, it did not really add up to the picture that we've been told it would paint. The other sort of controversial part of this is he was asked whether he could identify Tyler Robinson from these photos. And people are getting hot takes on both sides. So I'll just let you listen to what he said in his own words, and you can judge for yourself.
Why use Viagra when you can use Vic Vapor Rub? Pay attention, grab a pen and write this down, because this homemade trick will make you so hard and big that your wife will think you're back in your 20s.
Hey, I'm on the FBI's website. You can see the URL there at the top. This is a press release about this event.
So notice that they're showing him the same blurry screenshots that we all saw on the FBI's website that week, the week of the shooting. Kind of weird that they wouldn't go any more high def, that they wouldn't show him the videos or anything like that. They would just show him this.
Here on the screen, you see looks like there's 2 of the 3 images. Do you recognize the person in these images? I wouldn't say with 100% certainty just because of camera quality, but that looks like him in terms of the shoes he's wearing, the sunglasses. I don't think I'd specifically seen him wearing that hat, but he was usually wearing a hat, and then jeans.
So the people that think Tyler didn't do it are all latching onto this part of it, where he basically says, I can't 100% say, but based upon the clothing that this person is wearing, it looks kind of like Tyler, which is exactly what you don't want to say when you're IDing a witness. Because obviously anyone can dress up in clothing that looks like Tyler Robinson's clothes. That's the concerning part, is that it kind of feels like maybe there was some body doubles walking around that day. Maybe there was more than one person dressed up to look like Tyler Robinson. That's one of the main concerns. So one side latched onto that first part, and then there's kind of a pause and some more clarification.
It definitely, especially the last 2, definitely do look like him.
So some people have said that he was coached to say more or something. We don't know. We can't know that. But he definitely sort of says 2 different types of things at the 2 different parts of that answer. And ultimately, these are extremely fucking grainy images anyways. So take that however you want to take that. Lance's complete testimony is a segment that lasts like 20-something minutes during the hearing. You can go watch the whole thing for yourself. One of the other things that we got for the entirety of, I guess it would have been Wednesday afternoon, it was extremely laborious. Everyone fell asleep. It was just this giant mega struggle session about the DNA evidence. And the defense tried to like take a huge line of questioning that was like they were going to try to debunk DNA science in general, which if you actually listen to the trial and you didn't know about DNA evidence, a lot of people came away from that trial, from that day, realizing that, oh my God, DNA is not some like hard science like we've been led to believe by like CSI. Let's just say DNA evidence can be subjective and complicated, and it's not just a clean cut yes or no, it matches or it doesn't. It's complicated. Generally speaking, what came out of the overall trial on the DNA evidence is that Tyler Robinson's DNA is all over everything with relatively conclusive certainty, probably, I think, I'm pretty sure, that his DNA is on all these items, like the weapon and the cartridges and the screwdriver and the towel. But then the issue is that Lance Twiggs' DNA is also on several of those items, particularly the towel and the screwdriver. I'm not particularly clear. I don't really care to try to pull it apart. You can do this for yourself if you care. But it was said very clearly that Lance Twiggs was presented as an elimination sample, as in you should expect to find Lance Twiggs' DNA on these items. So here's his DNA. When you see it, ignore it, so to speak. Like I'm interpreting that myself a little bit, but he was presented as an elimination sample, basically saying like, this DNA will be there because he's the roommate. You're looking for Tyler's, which is a little concerning as a supposition, because if you haven't put 2 and 2 together here yet, we have text messages between Tyler and Lance that have no timestamps within them, that we have no real way to corroborate that they came from Tyler specifically. So we got photos of the phone screen of Lance Twiggs' phone showing the timestamps, or showing the text messages. And they start right here. Sam Parker points out that, weird, there's this super bizarre screen damage right over top of where the time should be. So that's a little interesting. But furthermore, we can see right here, Wednesday, 11 o'clock p.m. So it was at 11 o'clock p.m. that the automated text message, the just in case I'm dead text message, gets sent to Lance. Tyler thought, what? Fuck, I tried to delete that. And this is what starts the whole text conversation. And Barron scrolled through the entire thing and all these phone photos and showed that there's no timestamps in between any of the messages. As in, on iPhone, if you take a break and like put your phone down for an hour and then text again, it'll put a new timestamp in that like, oh, this one was sent at 7 p.m. This one was sent at 8 p.m. That does not appear anywhere in the entire text thread, somewhat implying that it was one continuous conversation with no significant breaks. Also, the fact that the conversation starts at 11 p.m. gets a little problematic, but I'm not going to get into the whole fucking timeline. Barron has broken it down exceptionally well, and you should go watch his content. But this is what they came in as. Photos of Lance Twiggs' phone. Let's just remind ourselves that Lance Twiggs is the roommate. Lance Twiggs has access to all the tools that were used, the Dremel for engraving the bullets, the screwdriver, the towel. His DNA is all over all of those items. He's probably got access to Tyler's rifle and to all the rounds. They live in the same house. They share the same, like he can go in and out of his room. It's all there. I think there was a part where they talked about Tyler having a safe, but that he never used it, which is pretty typical 20-year-old behavior, honestly. And then the question of, can Lance access Tyler's devices? And I would argue that's pretty likely that he can. It's pretty likely that he knows Tyler's password to his devices, or that Tyler might leave his computer laying around, because if you're signed on one device, you're signed in on all your devices, and any of those devices can send a text message. So that's not to say that we know that Tyler didn't send those text messages. It's to say that we don't know that he did, right? And obviously in this hearing, the standard is not beyond reasonable doubt. The standard is just probable cause for this to go to trial. And obviously it's going to go to trial. But when we're looking forward at the trial, do we actually have evidence of Tyler confessing to this crime? Do we actually have evidence that shows that it was for sure Tyler and not Lance? Because from where I'm sitting, Lance looks extremely fucking suspicious. Lance has all the access to all the items. He looks very similar to Tyler. He could pass as him in those security photos, although I don't really think he did. And he's in a perfect position to frame the guy, honestly. I don't really know what to make of what we've been told about Lance's like sexual proclivities, about his like trainee stuff, and there was like reports of his. I don't know, because now he's not even really presenting as trans or anything. But that's the DNA evidence that is kind of mixy-matchy. Definitely indicating Tyler. There's some discrepancy about 2 samples or 3 samples. I'm no DNA scientist, and I didn't find the DNA evidence to be particularly conclusive in any one direction. It's no mystery that Tyler Robinson's rifle has his own DNA on it. It's no mystery that a screwdriver from his house has his DNA on it. It's no mystery that a towel from his house has his DNA on it. It also has Lance Twiggs' DNA on it. So it's like that's not really proving anything about the fact that he took the shot from that location. And
Right.
especially when you bring into consideration all the other things that we learned.
Hello, Stefan. What is it? Steve? No, Stefan.
big things that we learned is we got photos of the bullet. Photos of all the bullets. So just quickly, to hop in here, let's just give ourselves a quick primer.
I just don't see it being plausible that there's no exit wound if it is a straight through the neck shot. I have a hard time explaining that.
Okay, cool, right on, Gary, good to know. Because it was a straight through the neck wound with a 30-06 bullet. Point is what it looks like. And obviously, I'm being flippant. Gary would say it wasn't the neck, it hit his spine, and that's how it deflected and deformed and it exploded into pieces, and that's why they can't match it to the gun. Let's start at the top here. Photos of the rifle, different photos, mind you, than we had before. There's a lot of speculation about this rifle being different than this rifle. I think they're the same rifle. I think they're just flipped over. I think that this one is you're seeing one side, and this one is you're seeing the other side, flipped over in the box. But people can argue about it online. I'm not sure. It is curious that the official police photos are during the day, and then obviously much later, like into the evening possibly, the rifle has been flipped around, but in the same location and box, and another photo was taken that was leaked to the press is a little weird, but whatever. And we got photos of the spent cartridge that was still in the rifle, never ejected. I took my screens while we were hanging with the boys watching. We got images of the back of the cartridge. We got images of all the other engraved rounds that were, I guess, in the magazine, but not fired. And all the engravings on them. Oh, we also got photo of the burnt up note that Tyler allegedly left for Lance. And then someone burned, but not completely. Which, just really quickly, if you were trying to burn the note of your confession to eliminate the evidence, why would you leave a giant piece of it still intact? Do you run out of lighter fluid in your lighter? Doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose of burning the note? And furthermore, we got a photo of the note too that they weren't supposed to release that actually kind of caused a fucking problem in the courtroom. We also got photos of Tyler's targets. And listen, I don't shoot rifle. I don't own my own rifle. I have minimal experience with handguns. I'm no gun guy. But I know enough to know that this dude's not really a gun guy either. This is like his best grouping right here to the left of Bullseye. This one's kind of spread out. He's got a couple of rounds fired out here in the outer circle. This one, he's got some rounds all over the place. He got some off the target. It's not really clear if these are actually bullet holes in the backing that these targets are attached to, but they're definitely all these weird holes in weird places down here that could be bullet holes. He's not an impressive shot. We don't know much about this. We don't know what caliber. We don't know what range. We don't really know about this, but he's definitely not lacing the bullseye on his targets. So this is an interesting thing to include in the exhibits. Here's the photo of the note that was not supposed to be published, and people couldn't help but notice that there's a fucking date and time in the metadata at the top of this one that we'll get into in just a second. And then photos of the jacket of the round that was recovered from inside of Charlie. We're not going to get into all the details because they kind of elaborated on this with the ballistics lady for quite some time, but these are images of the pieces of the bullet, and they were not able to match this bullet to Tyler's gun. That does not mean that they concluded that it was not fired from Tyler's gun. It simply means that it was too mangled and there wasn't enough material, there wasn't enough similarity between the rifling, I guess, the test shots from the rifle and this bullet.
Goodness.
So they were not conclude yay or nay either way. It could have been fired from any number of like a couple dozen 30 caliber rifles. So let's just remind ourselves of this tweet from Andrew Colvin back in September 2025 last year.
Right.
I just want to address some of the discussion about the lack of an exit wound with Charlie. Usually not interested, but probably another miracle. And I want people to know. So I just spoke with the surgeon who worked on Charlie in the hospital. And he said that the bullet absolutely should have gone through, which is very, very normal for a high-powered, high-velocity round. I've seen wounds from this caliber many times, and they always just go through everything. This would have taken a moose or two down, an elk, etc. That is in quotation marks. He is attributing that quotation to the surgeon, which allegedly the surgeon never said. But it didn't go through. Charlie's body stopped it. I mentioned to his doctor that there were dozens of staff, students, and special guests standing directly behind Charlie on the other side of the tent, and he replied, it was an absolute miracle that someone else didn't get killed. A miracle. Right, Andrew. Right.
And actually, let me just read you the description straight off the box so you know that I'm not making this stuff. All right, so it says right here, these are the rounds that Tyler used. They're designed for deep penetration and controlled expansion up to 2 times the original caliber diameter of a full metal jacket round. Designed for high weight retention, and they won't up or separate on impact for more effective stopping power.
So you can watch Nate's whole video about it, great video. Or you can listen to all the haters online that think that Nate doesn't know anything about firearms, that think he's a horrible person, terrible, terrible person for even, ever expressing his opinions online. Silly Green Beret. The fact of the matter, you can hate on me, you can call me a pizza delivery boy all you want. You can talk about how I'm not the gun guy all you want. You're right, I'm not the gun guy. It's my understanding that they make them bullets for hunting elk and moose and, big game, deer and such. And a lot of you guys out there, a lot of the experts on Twitter, have hunted big game with them. They're designed to kill big-ass animals. They're designed to go through the chest cavity of a gigantic animal, blast through the rib cage, get into the vital organs, and kill it. That's what they're designed to do. They're not designed to stop in a human neck. I have been pointing that out to people on the internet now that we know the actual bullet, because a lot of them, like Gary, that we already showed a clip from, they were originally of the perspective, right? The old narrative was, well, maybe it's really old World War II ammo. Maybe it was hand-loaded. Maybe there's all kinds of different types of bullets that it could be that would be slower or lower velocity or would be damaged or something. So them goalposts have moved because they were brand new, just saw points from like Walmart. They were just like your basic hunting round straight from Walmart, essentially. They weren't old. They weren't World War II era. They weren't hand-loaded, obviously. And we kind of all knew that. They weren't frangible, right? And it turns out that we actually already have testing of these exact rounds. Chris Martinson and his team already tested these exact rounds. Amongst the other like 50 or 60 tests that he did, he tested a whole bunch of Remington Core-Lokt 30-06. To be fair, his grain, we don't know the exact grain of the bullets, I don't believe. He didn't test every grain or weight of these bullets that exists, but he shot a whole bunch of them. And if you notice, they all went through and through. And I'll show you what that means. So here's the shot.
Here to here, it's coming in on a downward angle, and it goes all the way straight through, and you can watch all this stuff blowing out the back here. Some of that is bone, some of that's pig ejecta from the pork roast itself, some of it probably some plywood. So that's what it looks like, and this shot just went absolutely straight through. As
clarify, it's going straight through pork roast, bone in. Big old bone in there, through the meat, through the bone, through the other meat, and then straight through the wall, which is not a strong wall, but it's long gone. So the question, the allegation from all of the lovely individuals on X, like Matt Tardio here, he's having a real one. He's very angry. Phoenix Ammunition, losing his mind. Completely losing his mind. He's so pissed. Going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And one of their core allegations is that if you don't shoot a living human neck, the test is completely invalid, which obviously is a retarded talking point. Obviously, you can shoot things that will help you understand what the bullet might do when it hits a human neck. And here is Chris Martinson explaining that actually pig is a pretty solid analog for human flesh.
we wanted to get these pork picnics that would sort of resemble a human neck, right? That's a picnic roast right there. And again, it has this big bone it has to support. So these are things that are as large or possibly larger than a human neck. So we're trying to recreate as carefully as possible the conditions of a human neck to see what happens when you shoot a variety of different 30-06 rounds at a variety of conditions.
This is called the scientific method. And obviously, you can't shoot living necks, so you just have to get the best possible analog. And in case, in case it wasn't clear, scientists do this all the time. There's all kinds of testing that scientists do and utilize in our lives every day that they can't test on humans directly. So they use analogs like rats or like beagles, unfortunately, or all sorts of other things. Sometimes they just skip the testing entirely and say it's safe and effective, trust the science. And then Gary goes, yeah, trust the science. Or Ben Shapiro says, get the vaccine, you dopes. But that's how science works, in case you weren't clear. You design an experiment, you carefully measure all the variables as much as possible, you try to control the variables that you can control, you explain all of that, and then you vary the variable that you want to measure and test, and then you do your experiment to record the results. And Chris Martinson did an excellent job of that. And it's worth noting that obviously the bone in the center of these picnic roasts, these pork roasts, is way stronger than a human neck. So here's all the testing that he did across these various tests. 55 of them marked here. A whole bunch of them are Core-Lokt rounds here. Every single one of them through and through. Not a single one stopped in fucking anything because they're designed to kill elk and moose, obviously. Duh. This is really basic.
This rabbit hole, Lord, is just, But anyway, I'm gonna get on up out of here, cause it was something else. Let me go back and find this. Goodness gracious. I'm looking for Nancy. was talking about that.
Against D4VD, aka David Anthony Burke. A morgue leak. That's right, the medical
Right.
examiner's office leak has torpedoed the case against Burke and the Celeste Rivas homicide probe. Tonight, will the entire case be dropped because of this? Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
Morgly. I saw it. I was scrolling. I saw it, and I was like, wait. And you know how you have to come back? Like, this is 44 minutes. I was like, what the? Let me just see what's going on real quick. I'm struggling.
Apart, and there she sits in this house.
Oh my God, look at
The
Celeste.
smell of this child's decomposing body on his bathroom.
Hell yes, Steve. This is human remains that are decomposing. A true child, a human being.
Look at Celeste.
Had his beard going in. His pants were, kind of, he was doing that look where his pants were dragging below his bum. You could say his
Sagging.
orange prison pants. He just seems way more comfortable in court and in this setting now in his prison outfit.
Let me understand. Does David Anthony Burke, aka D4VD, actually show his rear end in court? That's from Delight, a true crime on TikTok. With me, an all-star panel. Very quickly to that, Lauren Collins joining us, investigative reporter, LA Magazine, star of Pop Crime TV. Lauren, you've been covering this extensively. Did he actually show up to court showing his rear end?
Well, per the LA Magazine source inside, she did say David appeared very, quote, relaxed, Nancy. So you can kind of use your imagination there a bit. But his hair was a bit unkempt. He was shackled. And also, our reporter said that Blair Burke appeared to be rubbing his back a bit as they kind of laughed and talked. And he even greeted the judge.
I appreciate that, and I'll circle back to that. But my question is, does he literally show his in court?
He had his beard going in. His pants were, kind of, he was doing that look where his pants were dragging below his bum. You could say his orange prison pants. He, again, just seems way more comfortable in court and in this setting now in his prison outfit.
Again, from the Light True Crime on TikTok. I've got a lot bigger problems with this case than D4VD David Anthony Burke literally showing his rear end in court. But very quickly, to esteemed expert, trial lawyer Nima Rahmani, former federal prosecutor turned trial lawyer, former president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers, author of Harvard to hashtag. Nima, thank you for being with us tonight. I've got bigger legal issues, very complex legal issues to discuss with you.
Look.
Showing your ASS in court? Really? What are the defense lawyers for Pete's sake? Can't they say, pull up your pants, idiot?
Well, they should, because your appearance in court matters a lot. So I think this is...
Trying to get to this precisely. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with this morning.
Bet you're watching
Right,
videos with your phone leaned up against whatever's next, right? The angle's always wrong. It keeps sliding, and one hand is always busy holding it instead of doing what you actually need to do. What if you could just stick your phone to any surface and it just held? This is the Hypermount. Press it on.
Big medical examiner words, please.
Gotcha. Yeah.
What happened to little Celeste, aged 14? What happened? And he's whining about shackles. Go ahead.
She has a sharp force injury on the right aspect of her ribs, okay? And it passes through there, doesn't touch the lung. It just goes over the top of that rib. However, if we go to the right side, and all of our friends out there, if you will take your right hand, your fingertips, and find the base of your ribs on the right-hand side, okay? That's where your liver is. This sharp force injury passed into the liver. And a lot of people think that if you sustain an injury to the liver, that perhaps you would die suddenly. Nancy, this was a long and languishing death. I've worked multiple cases involving trauma to the liver. It's a slow bleed. I find that very interesting considering some of the language.
Or just use the link below. And good luck. In the last days, new video has emerged of D4VD David Anthony Burke apparently driving home, quote, straight up after killing someone who's videoing himself.
POV, that drive home after straight up killing someone. And as you can see, David reposted it. But shortly after she was actually found, he went and unreposted it. And I mean, who is this target audience even for the original post?
Right.
And the fact that he reposted it and then what he's being accused of doing is just crazy.
That's
Exactly.
from Nehemiah 9Q on TikTok. Okay, Dave, Matt, what are they talking about?
Nancy, what they're actually dealing with here is not a video created by D4VD.
Right, it was somebody else.
It is a repost, meaning
Right,
he saw
he
this
saw it and he
and
reposted
he thought
it.
was really great, and so he reposted it.
Right.
Which, I mean, think about the deliberate nature of
State University. He's the author of Blood Beneath.
Is that her? Is that?
To gossip.
That was her.
Took precedence over ethics.
She talking to everybody. She interviewing everybody. I forget that that's how Nancy run her damn show. So like, I'm like Nancy. I'm gonna just get on up out of here. Ugh. In the meantime, in between time, love you. Bye. Mwah.